Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the Schmoedown Rundown. Introducing first, Frankie Stab Janisch, and the host of the Schmoedown Rundown, Brad Gilmore.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Schmoedown Rundown, the official after show for the movie trivia Schmoedown. Brad Gilmore here, your host, joined in Chicago by the genius Frank Janisch.
Genius! Wow, you're being nice to me this week. We'll see how long that lasts.
That's true. It's not going to last long, so take the compliments when you can get
Yeah.
And spoiler alert. Can we do a spoiler alert? Is this a proper spoiler alert? Put it all over the screen, Chris Clark. Welcoming to for the second week in a row. Welcoming to the rundown. We have the new Inner Geekdom Division champion of the world, the one and the only, Rachel Cushing. Rachel, how are you? Congratulations, champ.
Thank you very much. I'm feeling exhausted, but pretty good.
Oh, my Lord. I don't think I've ever been through such a range of emotions. I didn't get to watch the Throwdown live, but I know that that was an element that you were preparing yourself for. I watched it on the replay, but even in the replay, I had no idea what was happening, and the energy was infectious. What was the energy in the room like?
It was pretty incredible. I mean, we often get at least something of a crowd in the studio, but, for the first Throwdown, I think a few extra people wanted to be a part of that, which was really cool. And the first match went so well, and the crew was just so on top of it, and everybody was really in the zone with the idea of this being live streamed. And everything that I had been hearing was that there were a lot of people watching, a lot of people really excited. And, that sort of seeped through to me and Mike, and we could definitely feel it.
Frank, you were there. Talk to me about being in the room.
What's interesting about knowing that it was live, it did bring a different kind of energy and like an awareness too. And because being there for a regular studio match, there is somewhat of a crowd, but then you get like Collision or Spectacular, and that's when like everyone's there. It was kind of like that being there, but now we're live and from the studio, so it was really cool to. It really felt like you were like part of a live taping of like some game show you would see on network television. At least that's what it felt like to me. And so the energy and the excitement in that room. Especially when Mike and Rachel came out, it was through the roof, and my heart was pounding through my chest for all of that match. It was a lot of fun.
Your heart,
Rachel. Yeah, really, your heart, Janice. Don't make this about you.
Well, you look.
Don't always.
You look very composed up there, Rachel. I have to say.
Thank you.
Yeah, I do. That's what I wanted to ask, because when watching the match, knowing the conversation that we had the day before, I was like, okay, let's see, how is it going to be? How is Rachel going to react to this live environment? Because you talked about performing in front of the live show, how different it was for you, and you felt like that it affected your play. What did you do day of, waking up in the morning? How did you get yourself in the zone for the Throwdown?
I woke up that morning, and as much as I wanted to break out the flashcards or throw in one last movie, I chose not to, and sort of just had a morning to myself. I headed into the studio a little on the early side so that the wonderful Jen Sturger could make me camera ready, which she often does, and I'm very grateful for. I didn't really start to feel one way or the other until about halfway through the Scream Queens odd couple match, and I apologize to both those teams. I had to leave after the first round and go have a mini panic attack in another room. And I just needed to breathe and like have 10 minutes to myself and remind myself that, I know a lot and I just have to bring that to the table. And taking that time was a smart move. And Clark was there, which was huge. That was great to have her come out with me. That meant a great deal. If you look closely enough, I haven't seen the tape. I think you can see my hands shaking at the table with the pen, but I did settle down and as we know, like I had 2 spectacular rounds, and that definitely helped me. With each question you get right, the more confident you get is kind of how it usually goes. Things went a little awry after that, but that's kind of how it started out anyway.
For sure. No, but I liked hearing what your mindset was. You definitely went into that day with a plan, right? I mean, you had an idea of what you needed to get done. And I got to say that I just didn't think that it was possible to feel those many emotions as a viewer that I felt. So I say let's get right to the match itself, because it was, at one point I thought, okay, we're through the first 2 rounds, and I want to break down those 2 rounds, but we're through the first 2, and I kind of see where this is going. This has a very linear path one way. This might be not the most exciting of match. But let's talk about round number 1. Frank Janisch, give me her stat line, Rachel's stat line. Even though we know it, give me your stat line for round number 1.
This is very easy. Mike had 8, great score. Rachel had 11 because she had a perfect round and the bonus. And let me just say that there's only been 1, 2, 3, 4 people, including Rachel, who have ever had a perfect, well, all 10 correct. Jason Inman, he got 10 but never got the bonus. Mike, and who we'll have on later, Mr. Smets, he had a perfect round, no less in his debut. But all of them have only had 1 perfect round, whereas Rachel, she came to this match with 2, and now she's the only player. I mean, she's the only player with multiple, but now also the only player with 3 perfect rounds in the Inner Geekdom. So to do it though in a title match. That's something else.
Yeah,
the only one in a title match to do it. Yeah.
So far, true. Yeah. I'm sure Kevin will have something to say about that.
Yes, he will.
Down the line at some point. That I won't lie. That felt really good. Just because the first round can be the round that can rattle you. And I don't know what the stats are, but I have a feeling that people who are down in the first round, don't go into the later rounds feeling confident. Don't go in feeling good. You're on edge. You're like, oh man, I've got to make a comeback. And that's never easy to do. And because it's a mental mind game as much as it is a trivia game. So to be able to do that in the first round, and to do it in the way that I did it with that bonus question also was that was a good ego boost.
Talk about like getting that bonus question, because how long did it take you to get there? Were you double checking? What was going on in your mind through that process?
Yeah. So I think some of the fans have picked up on the fact that, most people think that question was absurd. You're asking for a page number in a textbook. But some fans pointed out, and rightly so, that yes, it's just a random textbook number, but it is an Alan Rickman line. Yeah. And Alan Rickman delivers lines like nobody else does in movies. And so I needed to put myself in that scene and remember seeing that scene. I could visualize what he was doing and what he was saying. And my issue in the moment was, did he say, turn to page 394, or did he say turn to page 294? Yeah. I wasn't 100% sure, but my very initial gut was 394. So ultimately that's what I spit out, and ultimately my gut served me well.
That was one of those, like, when you got it correct, because I was like, listen, this is a very difficult question, but when you got it right, that's when I thought, like I said earlier, I see where this is going. I see Rachel has prepared. She knows what she's getting herself into. And to get that bonus question, I thought that probably was the biggest. Was that a big confidence booster right when you got that? Was that when you have finally kind of sit down in your seat and you're like, okay, I'm comfortable now?
Yeah, because when you get through round 1, you get through all the categories, including the ones that, aren't like, I'm always confident, or generally confident, in the Lord of the Rings and the Harry Potter questions, and I'm pretty good with Marvel and MCU. And, sometimes, though, I'm a little nervous about the DCEU questions, and mixed bag, you just never know. Heroes and villains, you just never know. So if you get through round 1 playing like that, you feel like no area of your knowledge has failed you yet. So you feel like good in all of those. And that's a very important feeling going into the wheel round, which, could be anything on any of those wheel categories. So.
And speaking of the wheel round, Frank Janisch, once again, hard task of the night. Give us the numbers for the wheel round.
Yeah, this is real tough. So Mike, he ends up going first, and he gets DCEU, and he goes 4 of 5 for 7 points. Good score. And Rachel ends up spinning away from DC, lands on Star Trek, and then you blow through it 5 for 5 for the full 10 points. You had previously gotten a 2-point steal off of Mike. Now, what's interesting about your second round, Rachel, is that in Inner Geekdom, you are the only player so far in this division that has gone a perfect 5 for 5 for the max 10 points. People have gone 5 for 5, but they've never gotten the full 10 points. You did it here in the title match for the very first time, and now you have a huge, gigantic lead coming out of round 2, an 8-point lead.
8 points.
Yeah.
And it was interesting, too, because you land on Star Trek, and Mike is really good in Star Trek, so if you were to miss a question, I think people are still trying to or discovering just how good you are in Star Trek, because you did take it, I think, in Eric Zipper match, or was it McCarty? Makia, yeah. And while you did fine in that match, you did even obviously perfect in this match. So, what is it about Star Trek that people are just not figuring out here? Is it because do you think people just pigeonhole you as she's really good in Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter and just about everything else, but those are your main strengths?
Yeah, I think it's in the nature of the fans and the fandom to, pigeonhole everybody. Mike's the DC guy. I'm the fantasy girl. Somebody's a comic book person.
Right.
Somebody's the Star Trek person. Somebody's a Star Wars person. And in the main league too, like I often get pegged as like, she's good in the classics and the Oscar movies, but I can hold my own in comedies and I can do well in other, but it's, you do really well in one area and they just, that's your area.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I grew up on The Next Generation. And so I came from a household that watched that TV show religiously. I've seen all of the original movies more times than I can count. And I've even seen the ones that people don't like to talk about an awful lot of times. So I'm not Inman or I'm not Scott Mantz, though. So people don't think to put me in that category, which, has worked out to my favor in some ways because that's an expectation people don't have. And like you said, I have spun it before and didn't go perfect. So there's certainly questions out there that I don't know, but this time everything, aligned for me to be able to keep that perfect game going up until that point.
8 points. How do you not, and let me ask you this, just from your mindset of the game, how do you not take your foot off the gas when you have an 8-point lead? Didn't you have a sense of, okay, I can relax a little bit now. This is a very large lead. This is almost an insurmountable lead to come back from, even though I know in the back of your mind you thought it was possible, but did you start to take your foot off the gas a little bit?
It's funny, actually, the kind of exact opposite happened. And I think what's interesting, I think the betting round was a really interesting round because neither one of us really did what we should have done. I don't think.
True. Yeah.
Yes. Absolutely.
I went for the kill. But
You certainly did.
I bet 3 points. And the reason I did it was because, and I don't normally like to do this, but I would have run his category as well. I would have gotten all 10 points. And so knowing that I knew all of those DCEU questions, when we landed on it for the betting round, I was feeling good about it. I'm 8 points ahead. If I could go 11 points ahead, I could KO him.
Yeah.
Like that's going through my head. And I made the cocky move and I went for the kill. And I don't want to speak for Mike, but I think Mike played hesitantly. He knew he was down. And even though it was one of his strength categories, he did just miss a question in his round 2 in the same category and had to go to multiple choice on one of them. And I think he played tentatively, so he bet 2. We should have each done the exact opposite.
Yeah.
I should have played cautiously. He should have played a little bit more gung-ho. But that's what our heads were telling us in that moment to do, and that's what we did. And thus started his comeback.
And you know what was interesting is I was sitting next to Sarah Campbell, or wife of PJ, friend of mine, PJ, and I asked, I didn't know what you had bet, and I asked Sarah, and she said, I thought she said 0. I was like, oh, that's a good move, because you're up by 8. Even if he bets 3, you're still up by 5. That's a huge lead, because even if he ran the table in speed round, you're still up by 1, but without having to do anything. And then I saw you bet 3, I was like, whoa. And then you got it wrong, and then he got it right, and that's when everyone in the studio lost their minds, because at first this match was a blowout, and now all of a sudden it's a lot tighter than it was 2 seconds ago, and we're heading into the speed round, and who knows what the hell's going to happen. And that's when everything just this is when the match really turned and started to become truly something special in terms of not only Mike battling back, but yourself, Rachel, maintaining the lead and overcoming, that 3-point loss. It was, I don't know, my face was in my hands. I didn't know what to do with myself.
Yeah, it was.
What was going on in your mind? Yeah,
it was incredibly impressive. I mean, we're all Monday morning quarterbacking here,
sure.
But it's the kind of thing where, like I just said, I feel like he might have played tentatively in the betting round, but then something clicked in his head where he went, the only way I can win this is to go balls to the wall. Yeah. And what he did in the speed round was he didn't let the question finish. Not once, I don't think.
I think you're right.
He absolutely went for it. And it was a thing to behold. And by the fifth question, I could see that's what he was doing, and I was going for it too, but he just had the quicker trigger finger. And if it hadn't been, okay, there's a lot of if it hadn't been moments, sure, of course, in the match. But, that Bilbo question for him was a 50-50 shot. Who played Bilbo Baggins? He buzzed. He didn't know if they were asking in the Hobbit movies or in the Lord of the Rings movies. He took a 50-50 shot and got it wrong, which I'm thankful for, because it kept us tied instead of putting him in the lead.
Yeah.
So it's an incredibly ballsy way to play the speed round, because it can backfire as much as it can go in your favor. And for him to get 4 of them right by playing that way is gutsy as hell, and it paid off for him.
The 4th and 5th round really is like in a heavyweight boxing fight. It's like the 10 to 12 round or 9 to 12 rounds. These are the championship rounds. These are where you have to give your best shot and do whatever it takes. And I got to say, this is when Mike impressed me in those 2 rounds more than I think even his win over Mora at the Spectacular, because he is the champion. He has to defend the title. Now he's backed into a corner. How are you going to fight out of it? And when he started to, especially in that speed round, I mean, this is when, because I had just gotten done calling a live pay-per-view, so my juices are already flowing. And then I'm sitting there I'm literally on the edge of my bed with a box of Thin Mints in my hand, and I polished off that box in that speed round, brother. I'll tell you what, I was so nervous. I'm a nervous eater already. I was shoving them down. And then when I saw the score going into round 5, I really couldn't believe it. And I had the message ready to go. I was typing to Christian. I was sending him a text, and I said, "Best match ever?" ? But this is before the 5th round. I already thought this was the best match I had ever seen. And just tell me, what were you thinking going into round 5?
There was definitely a thought in my head that I had just lost the match. That I had, misbet in the betting round. And also, part of me thinks I ought to challenge that question. Not entirely sure I would have won, but it was a very strangely worded question. And kudos to Mike for making the leap for what the question was actually asking, sure, which is not what was asked. Like, Lex wasn't threatening Martha. So anyway, but my mind was still kind of back there. And then to just be smoked in the speed round and to be tied going into the 5th round, which is another kind of crapshoot because you don't know which categories you're going to pull.
Yeah.
I definitely had the thought of, wow, I messed up. And that might cost me this entire match, but you have to shut that down and get back to answer one question at a time, which I was luckily able to do.
And what's interesting too about the final round is when you get down to the 5-pointers. In recent memory, there have been some humdingers on these 5-pointers. So something just completely innocuous could have been asked, and Mike Kalinowski, he knows firsthand. He's been victim of that in a sense, and so I feared we could have had another one of those situations, and I was like, I don't know if I want to see this go to sudden death. But when we got there, the odds of going to sudden death were so high just because of the types of players you and Mike are. You could certainly answer all three, both of you, and obviously that's what happened. But getting back to what did you think of your 5-pointer, but then also Mike's 5-pointer when he had to get AO in?
I thought that they were both legit 5-pointers, deep cut type things. Mm-hmm. When he got Who Said It, I know that he internally groaned. I certainly did too, because we all know that's a very difficult category and has taken a number of us down in the past. And I mean, 3 words into it, I knew what it was. And my internal monologue was insane, because it was like, because the first thing I'm thinking is, before he even gets the question, we're going to sudden death. We're going to plan it. You plan for it. We're going to, don't think he's going to get this wrong. Don't celebrate yet. Like, he's going to get it, and we're going to go to sudden death. Like, be prepared for that. Then he gets the AON quote, and half of my brain's going, he's not going to get that. He's not going to get that. You won. And the other half of me is, shut up. Like, no, no, he could absolutely pull this. You have to focus on the fact that you're going to sudden death. And then if you don't, great. But like, it was a very funny thoughts going on in my head. But at the same time, I'm also not 100% surprised he pulled it, because as the jokes have gone around, he does walk around with a binder in the studio, and he's got a lot of typed notes, and he, like me, is well aware of what his weaknesses were, and he's been putting in the work, and he's been watching those movies again and again, and he's written things down, and he's done everything he can to be prepared. And that came into play, and that's why he got the question right. And that, as much as the speed round was an incredibly impressive thing for him to pull off.
It was remarkable. It was so remarkable. And then I was like you, though. I was like, okay, there's no way he's getting this answer correct. Who said it? Who said it? Nobody ever gets this one right. Especially,
for a 5-pointer,
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say. Do you think that Inner Geekdom has the toughest final round, even tougher than singles and teams? I always feel like you, especially with the 5-pointers, you're always getting something a little crazy.
I think generally the Inner Geekdom questions, aside from possibly round 1, although one question almost always sneaks into round 1, some plot point thing that, is a little bit more of a deeper cut. But generally across the board, because it's fewer movies to choose from, the level of, or the depth of the kinds of things you can ask for is, what words are on a ribbon attached to a knife in the opening scene of a movie? And the quotes, like I said, I've failed at that. That's why Adam lost his match against me. It's taken down some of the best players, because quotes in general are hard in the Schmoedown to me, because you're hearing Mark and Christian read the words. Yeah. You're not hearing the character. And God love them, sometimes in the Inner Geekdom, they're not exactly pronouncing things correctly. And the intonation isn't the same. And it's just, sometimes you can't make the leap to hearing a character say that, or picture the scene it's set in, or things like that. Like, it takes a certain kind of brain, and it's, the only way you can study for it is to listen to them over and over, write them down, and pick out keywords, think about main characters, that kind of stuff. And I know Mike probably did something very similar. But I would, generally say across the board, our 5-pointers are harder by nature of the league.
Sure.
They should be.
And when he got that 5-pointer, and you knew, oh, mamacita, it's time for sudden death. Did you feel as confident? Obviously, your confidence would have been a little bit weighed, but did you still feel confident like you were going to be able to pull this off? Because I think that most people who have that lead and then lose that lead and you're going into a sudden death situation, we saw what happened with the Atlanta Falcons versus the New England Patriots a couple Super Bowls ago. You kind of have your confidence shook, and understandably so. How were you feeling at sudden death?
It was a battle for me. It's funny because it must have been for him too, because I had forgotten how many times he's had to go into sudden death recently. Corruption did against Founding Fathers, and then he did against Mara. He must have been feeling it too, but it's hard for me not to think about what happened in my match against Mara when I think about sudden death. That had to be balanced against, I think, and this is debatable, of course, that I have the edge on Mike in terms of being a little more well-rounded. Like our round one, he has been studying Lord of the Rings like crazy, but he couldn't get that necromancer question. I've been studying DC and DCEU. I could get the London question. So I feel like, maybe I had like an inch of a leg up on being a little bit more well-rounded. And because I'd played so well in round one, I was reminding myself that I had done that, and that's what I just had to keep doing and hope for a slip up on his end. And I got it by a letter.
Well, letter. I just want to say too, though, going into this sudden death, I thought for sure we were going to be there a while. I really thought we were going to be there a while because the difficulty is much like round one. And yes, you bested him in the first round by a few points, but I just thought, here we go. These are the two top players in the league going for the title, and we're going to be here a while. I certainly didn't think it was going to be a one-and-done question scenario. I thought for sure we would get pretty close, to 7, 8, 9 questions before it was going to be decided. But that wasn't the case, and as you just said, it was decided by a letter.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, at the end of the day, to me, looking back on it, is Christian couldn't have scripted that better if he wanted to.
Absolutely.
He was loving that.
Oh, you guy, I know. It went down in a way that you can only dream of in terms of the fact that this is as much a show as it is a competition. And while, again, much like I said it in my post interview when Clark and I played Who's the Boss, it's hell to play. Because from 1 second to the next, you're up, you're down, you're high, you're low. Like every question, like I'm staring at Mark or Christian and they're about to read the question and I'm thinking like, this is it. This is the one I'm not going to know and I'm done. Like it's a battle and it's crazy. And the fact that it went the way that it did, what if Mike had challenged the telescope question? What if we had bet differently? What if he'd gotten 50-50 right on the Bilbo question? What? Like, it's nuts.
Yeah, it really is.
But yeah, I am personally very glad it only went one question.
I think everybody else probably was too. Like, we got through it, fine.
Yeah, the match was so emotionally draining. I was able to almost fall right asleep after it because I was just so exhausted from the ups and the downs of it. But when you heard Ann New, right, Inner Geekdom Division champion, and Mike stands up, the belt is handed over to you, Clark Wolf comes running out to embrace you, you looked shocked, like you had finally done something that you had set out to do. You told us this was your goal, to win the title. And it almost looked like you couldn't believe it.
Yeah, it's a funny feeling when the thing you've wanted for as long as you wanted it, and the thing you've put in so much work to get to happens. It's like when when you plan for a wedding and then the wedding gets there and then it's done and you're like, wait a minute. Like it's like you blink and you miss it, and it happens so fast, and it's so overwhelming, to be honest, because it is in a lot of ways a very weird, strange, silly game that we all play because we love movies, but it's also evolved into something that we all put our hearts and souls into. And to win it the way I did meant as much as winning it against the best in a match where he did not make it easy, in a match where I had to dig really deep, in a match where, my friends and family were watching, whether in the studio or at home, with Liv, Christian's daughter, there cheering me on from the side. Like, all of it was so overwhelming in the moment that literally I didn't believe it had just happened. Like, I was just overwhelmed. And kayfabe aside, Mike was the consummate gentleman in his loss, and we shared a really big hug, and I'm so proud of him, and he should be very proud of himself. And I think the fans are rightly proud of him too, because he did not make that easy at all. And he was all class up until his post interview. So
right. Well, he had to get a little bit in there,
I know.
Yeah, I mean, Christian's daughter there, I mean, I know that she's the biggest Rachel Cushing fan. To be there in your post-match interview, to kind of make her Schmoedown debut almost, right, in her post-match interview, it just kind of, I'm sure those are the moments that make you go, oh, wow, like people actually are invested in this aside from just our little circle. There's so many people who've been rooting for you. I mean, people in the tournament last year, since you entered the league, people have been rooting for you to do these things, to win the team championships, now to win singles gold. Now there are some people like me who are pushing for the trifecta, go all the way. Let's get the singles one, Rachel. Let's just be triple belted, be a champ. I don't want to put it on you, but I'm just saying, so many people wanted you to see it. And so I'm sure it was just such a satisfying feeling to know that and to accomplish that goal. But I got to say this. There has to be a rematch.
Oh yeah, it's only going to be fuel to Mike's fire. Like this is only going to make him that much better. Like, I am making my enemy stronger by beating him, and he's going to keep coming back stronger. And that's how it should be. Like, we really have established a rivalry here, and it's one that I am excited to be a part of. And I will be watching, over the next few months as, some of these new Inner Geekdom players battle out some veterans. Jay's getting back in the picture. I know Hector wants back in the picture. I'm sure Adam's not done. And Mike's going to be sitting there waiting, for the dust to settle with all of them. And then he's going to try to take that person down. And then, then we're in for another rematch come July. So I don't doubt it, but I'm excited to be able to sit back and watch all that rather than have to, fight my way back into it again.
Now, do you agree, though, with the sentiment that's been online that I expressed to Christian, that Christian also said on Collider Live, that Frank, Chris, and I were discussing before you joined this call, that was without a doubt the greatest movie trivia Schmoedown match of all time? Do you agree with that sentiment?
I think it's early. I'm always hesitant. I'm the person who says I can't put a movie in my top 10 list if it's been less than like 10 years since I've seen it or something like that. Like, I need to marinate on things of that nature. However, I do stand by what I said in the sense that not only was it a neck and neck match, it was the way it was neck and neck. It wasn't like we were battling point for point through every round. It was, I practically knocked him out in 2 rounds, and yet he got back up and threw me to the ropes and like had me backpedaling until we were tied going into the last round. And then we both played perfect last round so that we had to go into overtime. Like, again, there's no scripting that. This was actually how it went down. And that means it was a spectacular show for all of the fans to be invested in and to stress eat over and yell and scream and hide over. Like, you know what I mean? Like, in that vein, I think that it's got to be up there because, for a championship match to actually be a championship match and to go blow for blow that way, and to show the best of its two players.
Yeah.
I'm really proud to have been a part of it. So
It's without a doubt in my mind now, and I've had some time to sit on it, and of course I looked at the numbers, but it is in my opinion and the greatest Schmoedown match, team singles intergeekdom we have ever seen. It's definitely the best title match, and it's incredible too because as some fans have pointed out as well, like you look at Ethan Irwin and Dan Murrell to start the season, incredible match, and then look at Shirewolves and Who's the Boss, incredible match. So we've been getting absolutely tremendous title matches, and I think that really does demonstrate the depth and quality of everyone involved in the Schmoedown. And just over the years now, as this has gone on, there's so much history behind everyone's play and matchups that it all comes to a head in these title matches now, and it makes for a bigger stage. It makes for better matches, and you're more invested, and that certainly was the case with your match against Mike.
Yeah, maybe this was the way it was meant to be because it means that much more that I didn't get it when I set out to get it the first time, and I didn't get it when I set out to get it the second time. And so this time was when it finally happened. It means that much more when you have to work that much harder, I guess. And again, it makes for a spectacular journey for the fans to watch and be a part of too.
But absolutely. But before you have something, Frank?
Well, I don't know. I don't want to jump the gun here, but I just kind of want to know, because I was thinking about this, and I don't want to harp on it too much, but the triple belt stuff. I
Here
personally,
comes the wave of stress.
Well, no. It's actually the quite opposite. I mean, you probably feel differently, Rachel, but I was thinking you've accomplished so much in the league that going for singles, it's for funsies at this point, because I mean, as much as you would want to win, there is absolutely no shame. There's no nothing that wasn't accomplished. Sure, you would like to win it, but you're the second person in the history of this game to ever be double belted. You missed one question in a title match in the Inner Geekdom. You've had a perfect match in Inner Geekdom. You've done it in singles. You have the belt and titles. You have a slew of records. So going for the singles belt, I feel like everyone should just be scared, because it's just for shits and giggles at this point, because you have two belts. I don't know.
I suppose that's one way to look at it.
I don't know.
I'm afraid you'll get no decisions from me just yet.
I wasn't.
This is pretty recent, and I'm still honestly sleeping off the mental toll that took and and everything that went into it. I'm going to sit back and enjoy, but I can't sit back long because Clark and I are about to step back into the ring. So that's, got to be the new focus. So I've got to switch mindsets from Inner Geekdom to the regular league and get back into that mode and get ready for Critically Acclaimed. And I really want to believe that I've made an impact in the league, and that what I've done up until this point is more than enough to stake my spot in Schmoedown history. That what I've accomplished is means a lot. So, maybe whatever comes after this, comes on top of this, is extra and maybe less stressful for that reason. I'll try that one out. But it's not something that I ever set out to do, but I will admit it certainly would be an incredible thing to pull off. So we'll see.
Now, to talk about the teams, though, real quick, I know you have Critically Acclaimed. That's what your focus needs to be. But let's just give me your kind of quick take about Who's the Boss and The Odd Couple.
Much like Mike, I am well aware that Who's the Boss, spent a little time licking their wounds after losing to us at Spectacular, only to turn around and get prepped to take us on again. I have a feeling they're actually hoping we beat Critically Acclaimed because they want that rematch pretty badly. But if Snyder plays the way he played against Scream Queens, and if Andreyko knocks a little bit of that ring rust off, they're not going to make it easy for Mark and Ben at all. I actually think that has the potential to be another fantastic fight, and it's great that it's going to be a live one for everybody in Chicago. And I would be up for fighting either one of them, but will admit rematches are kind of fun.
Yeah, definitely. No, I'm excited to see that. I'm excited to see Critically Acclaimed versus the Shire Wolves. Now, before we get you out of here, Frank, why don't you give us the final stat line on the greatest match ever played?
So Mike Kalinowski went 20 of 25. That's 80% correct. 30 points was his total. Rachel went 21 of 22. That's 95% correct. Again, perfect first round, a perfect second round. You answered 17 straight to begin the match before the third round, which is one of the top 4 best answer streak. You actually have the record when you set it between it was the Markia match, the Eric Zipper match, and when you faced Mara. Between those 3 matches, ending with Markia all the way through Mara's match, up through the 5th question in the first round of Mara's match, you answered 25 straight. That's a division record. You're perfect in Harry Potter. You haven't missed a Harry Potter question. You haven't missed a Lord of the Rings Middle Earth question. You're 19 for 19 Harry Potter and 15 of 15 in Middle Earth. So that's just and then you also have a perfect match you did against Eric Zipper.
Work.
So just cherries on top
work
there.
As Jerry Lee Lewis would say to the acts trying to follow him when walking off stage, you better set up a pine box, boys. Nobody follows the killer. And in this case, nobody follows the crusher. I definitely think you have cemented your place. I think there are 3 faces. I think we can say this. I think Sam Levine, John Roca, and now Rachel Cushing are the 3 faces so far on the Schmoedown Mount Rushmore. I think there's 1 spot left open, and it's up for debate.
Dan.
I think that you have solidified. I don't know, man. Those are my 3. I'm just
okay.
This is a
you're
personal
3.
thing.
Okay,
Frank,
I got you.
This is a personal thing.
Gotcha.
You know, I don't go.
Okay.
I don't go over there and piss in your Cheerios. So let me have my moment.
Okay.
But
All
those
right.
are my 3. There's another spot open.
Stay away from
Rachel,
my Cheerios.
congratulations once again. We are all here at the Rundown so excited for you and so happy for you because we knew how much you wanted that title. Now you got it.
Thank you. I'm going to bask in that glory for a while. Although I now can concur with Sam that carrying 2 belts is kind of unwieldy and heavy. And juggling the microphone at the same time, I'm like, all right, I'm going to have to practice this. So
That
Intergeekdom
Inter Geekdom
belt
title's heavy too.
it really is.
That is no joke.
It's a
I mean,
heavy
that's
belt,
like-
man.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Well, Rachel, we appreciate it again. Make sure y'all support the Shire Wolves in their upcoming match against Chris Clark's favorite team, Critically Acclaimed. And we'll be rooting for you in that match as well.
Thanks, guys.
Well, that was Rachel Cushing, who had a phenomenal performance at the first ever Schmoedown Throwdown, which is available now, obviously, to everybody in the Schmoevillian-verse. But there was another match, Frank Janisch, on that card. And it was the opening contest of the evening, the Scream Queens versus the Odd Couple. Talk to me about that match, because the first thing I think we should point out is that Roxy Stryer was nowhere to be found.
Yeah, it seems she got a little lost, and apparently it might have been. Well, she denies it. They deny it. Grace denies that she had anything to do with it. But it's funny because Emma, allows Grace back into the league. And where does Grace go? Goes right to corruption, trying to straighten them out. They get Stacey Howard on board now, and Grace is meddling. She's meddling right now, and I think she may have learned from previous mistakes, and she's not going to make the same ones this time around. And somehow Roxy ended up wherever she ended up and wasn't there for the match, and it's just a little extracurriculars that Grace is partaking in, and she's really ratcheting up the conniving spirit that corruption has displayed.
Yeah, first of all, Frank Janisch, that's all alleged. None of that is confirmed.
This is true. That's all alleged.
Don't be a conspiracy theorist over there, because I don't think Grace Hancock would hurt a fly, and I kind of resent the remarks that you think that she would. Obviously, Roxy Stryer had a blonde moment. I mean, I've been around blondes in my time. Mother's blonde, sister's blonde, Anna's blonde. They got their moments, man. Sometimes, they don't remember what's going on. And I think that's all it was. Maybe Roxy got mixed up on the days. She forgot when she was supposed to be there. She took the wrong exit to work. She was sitting in front of the AfterBuzz studios instead of the Collider studios. There's a lot of things that could have happened that are very plausible. And you don't have to go blaming people like Grace Hancock, who was just appreciative to be back in the league. So why don't we end it there, Frank Janisch? I don't want to hear any more from you about these conspiracy theories that you were trying to perpetrate on our listening audience. So
What?
Let's talk about the match itself.
Yeah, whatever.
Let's talk about the match itself.
Yeah, let's talk about the match. Come on.
Scream Queens, who... Did you think the Scream Queens should have been in this position?
That's interesting. Because, I think yes, but also I would have mind to see World's Finest in that spot. As you know, World's Finest, they had a number one contender match against Shirewolves last year before Anarchy happened. So I think you could have put them in there, but no, look, Scream Queens were 2-0, so going up against a newer team, an Odd Couple, they're 2-1 before this match, so yeah, I think you could have had them or World's Finest, but sometimes scheduling is the case, and you could say, well, World's Finest had their shot last year in a number one contender match. Maybe Scream Queens deserve a shot to get to a number one contender match, basically. So, and plus, it's a Schmoedown Throwdown. It's the first one, so there's various reasons why Scream Queens were here.
Yeah, no. I'm not saying that they weren't deserving. I was just wondering your take on it, because it was an interesting matchup, because I felt like Scream Queens have shown us some good stuff, but I was like, man, to go against Who's the Boss and then get a title shot, I don't know if Scream Queens are ready for that yet. They're still so fresh in their Schmoedown Schmoedown careers that I didn't know if they were ready for a task as big as Who's the Boss, which is arguably, I don't know what the rankings are currently, but they're arguably either number 2 or number 3 in the team league behind the champions.
Yeah, I got to pull those up, actually.
Yes. So anyway, that was what happened with that. That was my thinking about that. So let's get into the match, though. Give me the round-by-round breakdown. Just go through it for me. Round 1, round 2, round 3.
Yeah, round 1 saw Odd Couple have a 3-point lead. They were up 9-6. Snyder was the one who really came to play. He had 6 points. Everyone else, not so much. Didn't really put on that strong of a performance, which is kind of surprising for Mandraco because he was in a title match last year and he only had 3 points here. But 9-6 lead for Odd Couple going into round number 2.
An Odd Couple having that lead, it kind of seemed like Jeff Snyder, who we know how good Jeff Snyder is in teams. I don't think anyone's shocked that he was playing well in this environment. Yeah, former champ, part of the greatest team perhaps ever. I would still like to see a Patriots, maybe Shirewolves match down the road.
Yeah, that would be fun. We got a ways to go, I think.
A man can dream, Janisch.
Yes.
A man can dream.
Well, we all can, yeah.
But so I wasn't surprised how well Jeff Snyder was playing at this point. But I did think when watching the match, if Jeff can keep this up, if he can continue this pace throughout the remainder of the match, I don't think the Scream Queens are going to have a shot to come back. That's just the feeling that I had. So then when we get into round 2, tell me how round 2 played out.
All right, so here we go. Odd Couple, they defer to Scream Queens. They land on new releases, and they end up with 8 points. They went 4 of 6 here, and they did surrender 2 points to Odd Couple. The Odd Couple then lands on Spinner's Choice, a very fortuitous spin, and they opt to go with Matthew McConaughey. They go 5 of 6 for 8 points. And so you add their 2 they got from the steal. They outscored Scream Queens 10-8. So actually not that bad of a round for Scream Queens, relatively speaking. But because they were already down by 3, now they're down by 5 altogether, 19-14. Odd Couple in a very good position from here. And, while Scream Queens seemed to struggle in that first round, they kind of recoup here in the first round. I thought Haley Fouch really had a solid match up to this point. Kaylin was still trying to find her ground since the first round, but down 5 points. A lot of teams do not come back from 5 points, so they certainly had their work cut out for them.
A lot of players don't come back from
True.
5 points. No one really gets to come back too often from a 5-point deficit. And when I saw that, I was like, okay, well, but here's the thing. Like I felt after the first 2 rounds of the Rachel match, I was like, I see where this is going. There's really only one way for this to end. Now, could I have been surprised and shocked by the result? Absolutely. Was I? That's the question. And Frank Janisch, tell me what happened in round number 3.
Yeah, well, not a whole lot because they go 1 of 3. They get their 2-pointer.
Yeah.
And Haley gets that for them, but they were unable to come up with their last 2. Paddington 2 did them in finally, and so they lose the match 19-16. Odd Couple finished the match answering 16 of 24 for 67% correct. So while it wasn't an absolute spectacular showing on their part, it was a very solid match. They did what they had to do, and now they're gonna go They're gonna come here to Chicago and take on Who's the Boss in the number 1 contender match to face off against the current team champion at that time.
Yeah, we're going to have to see who that is going to be. Will it be the Shire Wolves? Will it be critically acclaimed? We're going to have to find out. Frank Janisch, I'm excited for that match. I think that the Odd Couple is going to have to, though, study, get a little bit more acquainted with one another, be ready, because Who's the Boss are ready to tear somebody's head off, and I'm afraid that the Odd Couple is now in their sights, and it's not gonna be good for them.
The one thing that I notice about the Odd Couple is specifically Jeff Snyder. It just seems like he's having a lot more fun than he used to play, especially in team matches. I mean, he's really playing into this Odd Couple character, being very odd with 2 hats, and which I did like the fact that he would switch hats in between rounds. I kind of liked that a lot. It was actually pretty cool.
It's the little things, man.
Yeah, and if you notice in the match, he did shout me out in a sense that he, before the match, actually, he came up to me and he goes, "Hey, in teams," he goes, "how many times what player has the most correct answers for a question when the other 3 members have missed? Who has the most? They're the only one who got it." So when he got that first question right and nobody else in the first round did, that's why he pointed to me, because he literally just asked me about that stat. So I'm currently compiling that, because when he brought it up, I was actually pretty curious to see who might have that odd record. So I'm in the process of working on that, and my findings will be published pretty soon.
Pretty soon. Are we going to see it in TriviaSD.com?
You know what? We should probably see it at TriviaSD.com.
I think that would make a very interesting article. More of these little odd factoids. Also, it should be a stat. How many times has Frank Janisch been shouted out during the middle of a match? That would be a good stat line.
I mean, that day was a pretty good day for me. I'll say that.
It was a good day. You were feeling yourself. Like the Beyonce and Nicki Minaj song.
Hey, Queen.
Not a bad reference. Don't hate me. I know it's a few years old.
That's what I'm saying. Beyonce, Queen.
You're feeling yourself like Beyonce. It's okay to be like Beyonce, Frank Janisch.
Yeah.
Beyonce's from the H. Put a ring on it. All right, all my single ladies. But hey, that was the team match. Excuse me, that was the team match for the Schmoedown Throwdown, and it was a very interesting match. I think, like I said, the Odd Couple's got to really have to bring it if they're going to go against Who's the Boss, which is really one of the most frightening teams in the league right now, aside from the team champions.
there's a lot going on between these two teams. I mean, they were talking about it in the post-match. Jen, she said, what did she say? It was like something, a couple things short of like a soap opera or something like that. It was a great line. By the way, Jen, that whole night for the Schmoedown Throwdown was absolutely on fire. She roasted Snyder savagely with his get-up. I thought she was great the whole night for all the post-match interviews.
Oh, Jen's always great. Always great. She's always on, but I think Jen, coming from a wrestling background in a lot of ways, she spends a lot of time around wrestling. There's something about being a red light person. You know, in wrestling, when you know it's live and you know you can't screw it up, there's something about it that you just rise to the occasion. And Jen Sturger always does that. We got to get Jen on the show. Can we work on that? Can we get Jen on the show? Chris, you have a new homework assignment. All right, let's do it. We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to be back. Speaking of the Inner Geekdom League and the Inner Geekdom Champion, we're going to be back with one of the most incredible Inner Geekdom players and the most incredible debuts for a Schmoedown player so far this season. We're going to be back with Kevin Smets after this. And joining us right now, one of the most impressive debuts in Inner Geekdom Division history, he is Mr. Kevin Smets. Kevin, how are you, sir?
Gentlemen, how are you guys doing?
We are good. We're excited to have you on here. We were talking a little bit before we rolled live. I understand that we're going to air some exclusive clips never before seen of Mr. Smets doing his audition to be a member of the Movie Trivia Schmoedown roster. So that's going to be really fun. We're going to get to that in a minute. But I guess to preface the clip a little bit, you seem to be a small, tiny fraction of a Macho Man fan. And are you a pro wrestling guy? Are you a pro wrestling fan?
Yeah, I grew up loving it. I grew up loving wrestling in the 80s and the early 90s. Cried when Macho Man lost the title, or not the title, the retirement match to Ultimate Warrior. Like I have that match like memorized. The kid is crying in the audience. Felt the same way. And then like when he came out of it with the Jake the Snake, like I was just all in for Macho Man. I got to go to a show at the LA Sports Arena where he like high-fived me. Like it was a thrill. So I come from a background of wrestling that's, I think, a little bit of, bringing that kind of over the top attitude with how I'm coming into the Schmoedown too, bringing a piece of that, because I really grew up on that and I gravitated to that,
Well, what's funny about that to me is when I was watching your match, I texted Christian and I said, he reminds me of Bill Goldberg. And I said that on the show too, because you came out, you hit him again, spear, jackhammer, you walk to the back, you don't say a word. And that's what you reminded me of. You reminded me of a Bill Goldberg. Talk to me about, though, your debut. We know a little bit about the audition. We know that you have you're friends with Rachel Cushing, who's now the current Inner Geekdom Division champion, who probably maybe goaded you in just a little bit. You spent some time in the fan leagues. But talk to me about the debut. When you were driving to the studio, you pull up, you walk in. What's going through your mind?
What's going through my mind is 10 months of just, I should have been here all along. My audition didn't go quite the way that I wanted it. As you can see, or as they will see, I was fully in character the entire time for the audition, pretty much. And that, when you're saying dig it and ooh yeah the whole time, like it's kind of tough. But yeah, oh yeah.
We're going to have a Macho Man off here in a second.
This is the like Clark Kent. I got a cool set of sheets. I'm doing the handle to go the hold. But continue. I heard about your. Man, I remember Christian told me one of the first times I met him that you had a good one. So that's pretty good. I'm impressed. You need to come in to be the Macho Man, dude. Take the mantle from the Macho Man.
I take it away from you.
Yeah, I came in with a chip on my shoulder. The audition didn't go quite my way. I thought that maybe I was a little overconfident. Well, I know Rachel Cushing, like she's gonna. But like in this world, like you're not owed anything. You gotta earn it. You gotta just, I might even deserve it, but you still gotta earn it. And I didn't earn it in that audition. And even though I felt like, okay, I had a bad shake, but if I still debuted 10 months ago, I feel as confident that I would have won at least, But the thing is, I got sent to the fan leagues and they're warriors down there, man. Like, some people call them the minor leagues, and I don't think that's a negative thing because there's a lot of great ball players in the minor leagues that get called up. That's just how it is. So I have nothing but respect for them down there, and they made me the better player that I am, for sure. For sure, my debut went as exactly how I wanted. I come into that studio, and I had the nerves, definitely had the nerves, but I had the nerves because I had a lot to prove to myself. And I really, half of me when I was in that audition, or not audition, the interview, I had a thought, should I call my shot? Should I call the perfect first round? And I wimped out. I didn't do it. Because I just wanted to make a showing, but I was that confident. I come from a sports background. I coached for marathon teams. I did an Ironman race, now several years ago, so I probably would die on the course. But in coaching, you have a very specific way of training and getting ready for your run or your race or your event, complete with builds and then tapers and then builds again. And I took that same approach. When I came into the arena in the Schmoedown against David Moore, he had no clue what was going to hit him because I was so ready and primed. I had everything going. I had I have a specific way that I train, especially the last 3 weeks going into my match. There was no way that anybody was going to beat me. That could have been Kalinowski up there that day. Like, no one was going to beat me. Like, I just know it. I mean, except Hulk from 2003. That beat me. That was the movie that I forgot. I think we all want to forget that movie, but yeah, I was excited because look, it's the Magic season. You can see it right here.
You're looking to have a Magic season yourself, I assume.
Yeah, I believe I really do feel that I've come in here. I want to do the best that I can do. I believe this is a Magic season for a lot of reasons. Christian is building this amazingly, but if I'm going to be honest, it's going to be a Magic season because I'm in the league. I'm going to do what I think Donica could not. I'm going to get the title in 4 wins if they'll let me. And if not, whenever I can get the title, I'm going to be the first rookie to defend the title. I'll be the third rookie to win the title. So you can bank on that.
Well,
and with all due respect, I am friends with Rachel, and I am so thrilled for her that she got her big win. She is going to be a great champion, but when she faces me, she'll lose the title. But I do I love her to death, and I couldn't be happier for her. To be honest, there's me, the friend, and then there's me when I came into the Schmoedown. I have worked so hard, and to have something where you think you're going to get it, and then it's taken away from you. It was taken away from you 10 months ago. Absolutely ripped me to shreds. I was torn up, and then to get to the families, and I have to go straight from the bottom back to the top. That's why I'm so focused. The level of training that I'm doing with Kaiser helping me too. There is things that I've told Frank off the air that I just don't want to reveal how I do my training because I think a lot of players say too much and that's how they can get into trouble. But no one's going to work harder for it than me. And Rachel would be, I would say, the only one that scares me, absolutely. But I think I can still defeat her when hopefully I get a chance. And
if I could just say real quick about your training, I'm not going to reveal anything, but I just want to say this. When you told me, that's insane. It's insane, guys.
The one thing I can say this. This is not even the insane thing that I told Frank. There is an insane thing I can tell you off the air when we're done here. I just don't want the other competitors to know that it's insane. I'm a crazy person when I get focused. I mean, it just comes from that background of coaching and wanting to be the very best, you know what I mean? And also doing it with respect. I'm not going to come in here and shit on the league. I actually love this league. When I auditioned, I actually wasn't as into the league as I was now, to be honest. And that actually was a strike against me, I believe. I didn't know as much of the history. And what that training was during the 10 months wasn't only to train hard and get the knowledge for as far as the movies go, but it was also to get the knowledge and respect for the league. And I literally binged all the seasons. I binged a couple seasons twice, and I saw people like Roca who got knocked down and then they kept fighting and got back. Those are people that I absolutely respect. You know what I mean? Bateman with his study ethic. Like, that's insane to me. And of course, Rachel, like, she is so inspiring to me. And I know I'm supposed to sit here and be, tough and grumble, but like, as far as Rachel goes, like, if I ever have a match with her, that I'm coming at her 100%, but with the most utmost like respect to her. But as far as the training goes, I edit for TV, and as does Rachel. I'm one of those editors that I need to, while I'm working in the edit bay all day, I need to have something on in the background. That's why I love your guys' show. I listen to the rundown and stuff like that. I used to always listen to ESPN. I would have all the YouTube channels for ESPN and sports all the day. When I finally got sent to the fan leagues, I literally every day at the edit bay, it's on in the background. You know, I'm not sitting there watching that for any potential employers. I do edit. I do my job, and I do it well. But yeah, I'll have in the side, I have to have something on. And so, unless my opponent is watching 4 to 5 geek movies every day, unless my opponent, I'll say it again, unless my opponent He's gonna be watching 5 geek movies every day. And maybe not weekends. I try to take those weekends off, and then have the training regimen that I do that I've explained to Frank a little bit. I don't think anybody has a chance against me, and that it's just statistics. Statistics, and I say that with all due respect. But yeah, I'm just coming incredible. In here. Yeah, it's a chip on my shoulder. I had an opportunity and I blew it, and I want to prove that it's not too far. When you fall, you can still come back. And I try to do that in everything that I do. And so I'm really honored, to be honest, that I get to be on here. And that's why I'm not going to piss it away. Like, I love the Schmoedown so much. And this came in and I just geeked out about it. I hear you guys talk about it and I geek out about it. Like, again, 10 months ago, that wasn't me, but I'm a different person now. And I'm a person that's dedicated. I mean, I didn't think that the email was ever going to get aired, but I emailed Christian. I was invited to the award show. And I emailed Christian literally that next morning. I was so inspired by it. And yeah, I said, he was going to tell everybody, but I said, I'm going to be Rookie of the Year. I said, I'm going to be undefeated, and I'm going to be the Inner Geekdom Champion and Inner Geekdom Player of the Year. And I plan on doing that.
Well, you know what? You talk about the person you were 10 months ago. I want to take this time. Let's go back in time real quick, and let's see Kevin Smets 10 months ago when he didn't get exactly what he wanted. Y'all take a look.
So tell me a little bit then about what do you say? There's a lot of, I'm looking at the comments here, Mr. Smets, and they've been saying that you might be a crazy person.
Crazy.
What do you have to say about the people who say that you're crazy and that you don't really know trivia?
I don't know trivia. I guess the proof is in the pudding. But I've soared with the eagles and slithered with the snakes and been everywhere in between there, Harlow. Yep.
Which of Kirk's senses is beginning to fade with age?
Going 0 for 1, I'm not a big Trekkie here. I'm gonna say the
5?
Sight.
Sight is correct.
Yes, yeah. See, the Macho Man guesses correctly too. That was an absolute out of my ass guess, right? But it's happening right here. I bring the power of the Macho Man. Go ahead, yeah. Got
Macho Man. Okay, got it.
Fill up arenas with the Macho Man.
I see. So the next question is apparently your realm of Star Wars.
Yeah, let's do this. Right back to a galaxy far, far away, yeah.
So you got six out of what? Out of 10. That's okay. I mean, if we're in a geekdom, if you play someone like Inman, you're going to be in trouble.
Yeah. I'm going to point at the camera that's sending my digital image from me to you and tell you that I am going to be the cream of the Schmoedown. Yeah, as the cream, it rises to the top. Christian Harlow, you know I'll be the cream of the crop. Yeah.
And we're back here. The Macho Man, I do love it. I do love the Macho Man. I got to say, you got to bring that character out here eventually, or maybe we can do a tag team in the future.
The original idea, which you'll if Christian ever releases this whole video, I chose to record it because as an editor, I wanted to see how it came off and stuff like that. And why when it eventually gets released, you'll see just how not ready for Inner Geekdom I was in certain cases that day. I'm not saying at that point in my it was just an off day. But staying in character, that was very difficult too. But Christian's idea originally, he was going to have me come into the Schmoedown arena as Macho Man and not say oh, I'm Kevin, I'm here for my match. I was going to knock on the door with the glasses, the whole thing, and it was going to be, this is the Macho Man. And I was really excited for that because I have met people through my time there, and I was like, would they recognize me? They're going to say, who is this crazy person coming in? So maybe if I ever lose a match where it's loser leaves town, maybe I can come in as the Macho Man or whatever. I told the Macho Man
it's always an option.
Yeah. I said, hey, bring the Macho Man on the free for all. We'll see what happens. But Christian has his own plan.
Yeah, you never know. But you talked about Rachel Cushing and that you think that if you go against her, you're going to beat her. Even though she's your friend, you're going to defeat her and take the championship that we just talked to her about that she works so hard for. And it's nothing personal, right? I mean, I think about it like Booker T tells me the story about him and Big Van Vader from WCW days, and they were doing a photo shoot together, and Booker noticed that Vader was standing a couple steps in front of everybody, and he was looking kind of bigger on camera than everyone. So Booker took a step up to be kind of in a line with him. So then Vader took another step up. So when Booker tried to take another step to be next to Vader again, Vader puts his arm on Booker's chest and says, "Step back it's business, brother. You know,
Yeah.
because he had to look big. He had to be the bigger guy. I'm Vader. I got to be imposing. That's what you're telling to Rachel Cushing. It's just business, brother. But tell me, how do you see the path getting there?
I mean, as it is just it's business. I wouldn't come in here and wait, 10 months of hard work to, and then just to throw it away. And I think Rachel respects me for that. I don't think that she would want me to, duck her, or I'm not here to duck anyone. Like whoever he puts in front of me, I'm here. Look, I have a chip on my shoulder. I'm not going to lie. I'm not coming in here and I'm not going to say that people don't deserve to be where they deserve to be. They do. But I'm there to prove that, there are people that are in this league right now that I feel in the last 10 months Christian deemed more worthy to be in the league than me. And I want to take them out. I want to prove to everybody that Christian made a mistake. And I'm going to do that the right way. I'm going to do it with training. I'm going to do it with coming in there and whoever he gives me. I mean, as far as, I called out Navarro. And I don't know if that's going to happen. I'd love it. And I say that also because as a fan, before when I was just a fan, I loved Navarro. I thought he was funny. I thought he drew a lot of pictures on the boards that made me laugh. And, I think in a match that it wouldn't go the same way. I think he'd run out of time to draw the photos. But as far as whoever he puts in my path, I was not expecting to get called out by Jay Washington on Twitter.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Years with, he's awesome, and all of a sudden he starts cracking at me on Twitter, and he says, that I need a mouthpiece, or am I going to be able to answer for myself? Look, I'm here now talking. I have a mouthpiece on game day because first of all, Kaiser, he's known Christian for years, and I worked with Kaiser. Kaiser saw how hard I worked because he would see frickin' Harry Potter in my edit bay when he's trying to get me to work. So his long-term friendship with Christian. And then he really thought I had a shot. So when I came back as the Macho Man and I said, I got sent to the minors, he kind of had a chip on his shoulder too. He's like, this is my boy. Like Kevin, I see how hard he works. Christian didn't see what Kaiser saw. And so Kaiser kind of took me under his wing over these last 10 months and really got me to get that eye of the tiger. You don't need to be that Macho Man. What's the matter with you? Like, you need to get focused. Like, that's why you didn't get in. And he was right. And, it gave me a completely different attitude coming in, and it gives me the confidence. And so, Jay Washington talks about how I need a mouthpiece. No, on game day, I'm not there to kiss babies. I'm not there to shake hands or give high fives to people. I didn't shake David Moore's hand before the match. It was nothing against David Moore. He's a nice kid. I met him before the match, but it's game time. It's like I'm in there to win. I'm in there to answer questions correctly. When I'm done, we can sit and we can talk and we can be cool because I don't disrespect anyone in the league. You know what I mean? And so Jay all of a sudden starts cracking me on Twitter saying he wants a shot. And here I'm thinking I'm going to get Navarro, a former champion, and no disrespect to Jay, but I'm going to go from a former champion now to Jay Washington, who's held good on the mic, but I'm here speaking for myself now too and saying I'm ready to go. So it looks like that's happening now.
Yeah, so Jay, though, we've seen him play in Intergeekdom before, and I don't think he's someone to necessarily overlook.
Not necessarily.
Robert.
But I know he beat Robert Meyer Burnett, but
listen, I'm not sleeping on him. Jay, he has a knowledge of film. Like if you just see the Black History Month match,
sure.
Like he killed it on there. And he just needs to focus. Like if he focuses and trains, like I don't know what he's going to do for training. Like for me, the only thing I control is what I know. Like that's why I literally will obsess and study so hard because at the end of the day, aside from what I'm going to give him if I get opponent's choice or, like I had a feeling I wasn't going to know that the final question and the release dates. That's why I went to multiple choice. Again, it's learning the game, which is something that Christian said I needed to do over those 10 months. But I can't sleep on Jay. I have to control what I know. And that's why I will literally go in there. The fact I texted this to Christian when I found out my next match. And I said, you mean I'm going to get more time to study and get even better? Because as good as I was on my debut, the fact that I'm going to get more time to study and train and get those movies that I didn't get. There are movies that I wasn't ready or I haven't seen yet. I have seen all of them. By the way, I've seen all of them 6 times. I've been around the sun 6 times with every eligible movie. I'm a crazy. I'm literally crazy. I get it. But I do
That's
it
great,
because
man.
Yeah, I love the Schmoedown so much. Listen, I have seen freaking R.I.P.D., the worst of all of the movies, and I've seen that 3 times. So like, no man should have to see that movie. Like a comic book movie.
I mean, look, I mean, you mentioned players who study this league, this game tremendously, like Rachel and Mike and Ben Bateman. You do remind me of a Ben Bateman who really started to take a look at areas that need to be attacked in terms of your own personal knowledge and how to expand it, and your enthusiasm for this league, for the game. It clearly comes across, and I would be hard pressed to imagine fans out there are not responding to you, because I think they really did love your debut. They love the character that you brought to the table.
For me, when you get something and you think you're going to have it and then it's taken away, it's something you don't take for granted, and I don't take it for granted. I have a chip on my shoulder against Christian. I do. I think that he made a wrong decision 10 months ago, but everything happens the way it's going to happen. And if 10 months ago, maybe I was going to, be in the tournament had I done well, and maybe there would have been a different risk at that tournament. Who knows?
Let me ask you.
I'm in the Magic season. So.
Yeah, let me ask you this though, because you got turned away 10 months ago, but then tell me about the call when you found out that you were going to make your debut. What was that call like? Email, whatever it was. What was that moment like? And how did you celebrate that moment?
I celebrated by going to Europe. Actually, it was the best Europe trip ever, because I had just won another match, and I texted Christian the results of it on the fan leagues, and he just sent me one sentence. It said, "Next season you are in." And it was, how excited you get before you travel. I'm getting goosebumps. You can see the hair, literally, like Spider-Man. I'm getting goosebumps thinking of it. He texted me, "Next season you were in." That's the sentence that it was. And as someone that had been working so hard at it, at any moment, the fan leagues are hard. These guys aren't just, they're scrubs. They're not scrubs. They're amazing. Right. And so if I went in there and shat the bed, or for lack of a better word, hate to cuss, sorry, if I went in there and didn't do well, he would have been like, "No, you're just never going to be ready." And so when I got that text, I was literally going to Europe the next day, and it just made for an amazing Europe trip. I got to see my sister who lives out in London, and then got travel to Germany and Amsterdam and all that. I celebrated. It was fun.
You certainly did.
I got back. Yeah, and then I got back, and then it was to business. I didn't know when it was going to be. I just knew that I was going to have to be ready. And like I said, once I'm in training mode, and then I got with Kaiser, it was full speed ahead.
How many?
And it was that. Yeah.
How many movies did you watch on that plane ride? I want to. That's a lot of time.
Oh, it's so embarrassing. But I brought my laptop along with me, and whenever I'd be in the hotel room, and I travel all over the place, but whenever I got through. Because I didn't know when my next match was going to be. But yeah, I cruised through all of I think I cruised through at that time all of the DCEU I was gone for like 16 days, and I did all the DC, the DCEU, and then I just, this is a story. I don't mind saying this. Like, you got to put the Lord of the Rings on with subtitles. So whenever I was I have the Lord of the Rings on in the background subtitles. But I it's because I have worked so hard at, getting well versed at all of them. I don't take any of them lightly, any of the categories lightly. But I feel like because of that, there's not really anything on the wheel that I would want to spin away from. I'm not afraid of any of the categories. I have preferences, and if I do a respin ever, it's going to be because I do have my eye on another one. But I don't think there's any of the pies of the slices right now that I'm I'm not ready for it. You know what I mean? But right. to get that call, the feeling that I had was, okay, I'm vindicated, but now I can't let him down. And then I'm backstage getting ready to make my entrance, and he says last year his pick was Ethan Irwin, and then he said my name. And then I just looked at Kaiser. And I was like, all right, it's go time. Let's go. Joke and say we're going to let's go answer questions correctly. So it's like that. That's how I felt at that moment. But I just I get goosebumps thinking about it, man.
And you lived up to the moment. You rocked it. You made a fan out of all of us on the rundown, and I'm sure many people watching the Schmoedown around the world. Let people know we're going to get you out of here. We appreciate you taking the time to come on. Let people know where they can find you, follow you, check out some of your work, all that stuff.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's at Kev Smets is my Twitter and my Instagram handle. I also, because I'm a giant nerd, created a series of movies based on the Knights of the Old Republic video game, and it's full machinima feature-length movies. Really? And you can find that at reventrilogy.com. We just got that URL. I work with some talented people, and they helped me out here. But we literally took the game of Knights of the Old Republic and made like a 3-movie trilogy, like
That's
with
awesome.
completely like redesigned sound and stuff. It's using the same game engine, but the HD version from PC. But 3 movies, and now we're undertaking. Actually, I have the Revan mask right here. But
Nice.
I almost wore this on my debut, but I was like, I'll save that if I ever win the Star Wars belt, which I can come after that. Christian, let me know. But yeah, Revan, we're doing a Revan prequel now. It's based
Dude, that is
on-
awesome.
It's going to be based on the Mandalorian Wars when Revan came up. So yeah, that's at reventrilogy.com or KOTOR_trilogy on Instagram. But
I'm gonna definitely check that out.
you guys rock. Yeah, thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, and if you ever want another project like that to work on, I've been trying to find like a good cut up of the Back to the Future, the video game. So just keep that in your mind. A lot of cutscenes.
Yeah, you got to find one without the subtitles. One without the subtitle. Yeah, I love that game. I watched like a 4-hour one of that one time, and I was like, "This is my Back to the Future 4." You know? One of the greatest.
Well,
movies
if you got a good link, DM it to me. But that is
I will,
Kevin
definitely.
Smets from the Inner Geekdom Division. We'll be back with more rundown after this.
And we're back here on the Schmoedown Rundown. That was Kevin Smets.
Oh, my gosh.
Crazy man. Kevin Smets.
And-
really fun to talk to him. And, guys, I was put on game to his strategy.
Oh, show me your face. Show me your face that you had, because
I think I was like this.
I mean, we're not going to betray Kevin's trust here, but man, if you heard what he does,
What?
it's insane. And I'm not. That's not
It's
hyperbole.
so nutty.
It's awesome.
We're gonna-
It's
we're-
awesome.
We're going to talk. That's all we're going to say. We
Yeah,
can't talk about
that's
it
it.
anymore.
We're done.
Let's
We're
talk
done.
about something that we needed to get to in the team match or in the Schmoedown Throwdown.
Yeah.
There was a cutscene that we needed to discuss, Frank Janisch.
That's true.
Yes. And it goes like this. The front door of the studio opens. And then you see Andrew Guy, fresh off suspension. He walks in and he says, "The Dastardly One is back."
Yeah.
Which I'm assuming is in reference to Mr. Ben Bateman when he said the boss is back at the
Oh.
live event.
Okay. I see what
Yeah.
they did there.
Kind of-
I see what they're doing there. Okay.
Mocking. You know what I'm saying? It's a through line. You know what I mean?
Gotcha. Oh, okay. Yeah. Storytelling. Got it.
You know, we can tell he's proud of himself.
Right.
He's proud of himself. He's feeling himself. Once again, Beyonce.
Yeah.
And then we see Robert Meyer Burnett walk over after we hear some sort of belly laugh, and he says, "Oh, you're talking about that idiot." Once again, referencing Mr. Ben Bateman. They talk a little bit. They talk a little smack, and then Ben shows up. It goes face to face with Andrew Guy. Ben calls Andrew Guy a coward and says he has a lot of balls to show up. Interesting point of order. I don't know how you can be a coward and have balls. I'm just saying.
Amazing feat.
This is why Andrew Guy is the greatest. Guy says that he would have been back sooner, but Harloff suspended him and for putting a bitch through a table. Once again,
Yeah.
I think he's referencing Ben Bateman there.
Yeah.
I think it's safe to say.
Yeah.
Then Ben says that he should have faced. Then Ben and Guy get into it, and said he would love to face Guy, but Harloff says he's not allowed to. Then Emma Fife,
Yeah. Commissioner.
the commish,
Mm-hmm.
she shows up and pretty much says he said you couldn't. Christian said you couldn't play in a singles match. So Sam and Emma they talked about it. Sam Levine, and they decided that it's going to be a team match, and that they can choose their own partners. Whoever wins the team match can dictate how their singles match will go and what the stakes will be.
Yeah.
Guy immediately chooses Robert Meyer Burnett,
Which is
and
weird.
Before he finished, Bateman laughs and says he's glad he chose him because he chooses Tom Dagnino, who walks in, and then they have a little thing with one another, and Guy whispers something to Emma. She looks a little shocked, but then they agree to play. They agree to play one another. So we're going to see Ben Bateman and Tom Dagnino versus Andrew Guy and Robert Meyer Burnett. Winner gets to pick the stakes
Yeah.
for the singles match that they're going to have. What's going to happen here, Frank? What could the stakes be?
Yeah, this is interesting because it seems like, look, because everything's going to lead up to a singles match here. The winner gets to decide the stakes here. What are the stipulations? What's going to happen with that? So it seems like this is definitely a warm up round, but still, you gotta imagine Andrew Guy wants to beat Ben. Ben wants to beat Andrew. Interesting player choices given who we know. I mean, I think it's safe to say that Ben's not going to play Andrew with Mark Riley as Who's the Boss. This is way above Who's the Boss. So I think Who's the Boss should, as a team, would never stoop this low to play some unknown team, some unknown quantity in Andrew Guy and Robert Meyer Burnett. So, because otherwise you're looking at it and go, why would he pick Dagnino? But Who's the Boss is not going to stoop that low. That's why you bring in a guy like Dagnino. So, with Andrew Guy picking Robert Meyer Burnett, I mean, hey, he has a history, and it's anyways. But Little Bobby and the Juice is doing just fine. So, Andrew Guy and Robert Meyer Burnett. And we all know that Drew McWeeney's there, but maybe he's not available. So he's wishy-washy. He didn't show up for the awards, so maybe he's still getting things together. I don't know, but this is going to be interesting to see them across from the table, even if it is a team match. To see them go, how's Ben going to react? Because Ben has turned over a new leaf. Andrew Guy is probably even more despicable than he was last year, and I would love to. I'm going to really enjoy this interaction, and I'm very, very curious to see how it goes. But obviously, my money's going to be on Ben Bateman, and I don't care that he has Dagnino because JTE carried the likes of him to a title match in the 2015 season against the Schmoes and almost won. So, is Ben Bateman better than JTE? In recent memories, shows that probably is. And look at what he did with Who's the Boss and the run he's been on in singles. So Ben Bateman should have just entered this match by himself, and I think he would have had a shot. But he's going to bring Dagnino along for the ride. That's a lot of fun. This is going to be a fun match to watch.
Yeah, I think this is one of the things that we don't need to really try to read into the future, read into the tea leaves too much on. It's one of these, like, when it gets here, we're going to really enjoy it. So right. I'm excited to see that. I'm excited to see who wins, what the stipulation is going to be. We don't know. Yeah. Why don't you, in the comments, let's put in the comments, what would your dream stipulation match be between Ben Bateman and Andrew Guy? If we get to see them face off with one another, what's the dream stipulation? What should be at stake? Comment below. But Frank, Janisch, let's go around the table. Let's let people know where they can find you, follow you, all that good stuff.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at FrankieJ29. I'm also on the PJ Campbell Show, which you can find on the PJ Campbell podcast feed, wherever podcasts are sold. Listen to? Whatever you do for a podcast.
Listen to. I think they listen to podcasts.
Yeah, just listen to it. Yeah, you don't sell them. No.
They're free, Janisch.
Yeah,
you know
they're free.
Right?
Yeah, they are. Wait, what? Son of a...
Yeah, it's true. Right. It wasn't me. It was a one-armed man, see? Chris Clark, why don't you let the people know where they can find you?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram, as always, at ChrisClark8788. Those numbers mean nothing. And be sure to subscribe to the podcast feed on Spotify and iTunes. I am producing everything on there, editing everything. It's if you want to listen to a Schmoedown, it actually sounds like an actual podcast version of the Schmoedown, re-edited, remixed from the ground up. So be sure to check that out. Bada bing, bada boom.
Yes, and you can find me on all social media at Brad Gilmore. Got some big announcements down the pike, so make sure you follow me on social media. Find those. And I want to leave you all with this comment. We all wear masks, metaphorically speaking.
Metaphorically speaking. Oh, what a great movie.